completely without proof. Everyone knows that they're just about a negative media campaign.
No doubt many people, not just in Italy, view Berlusconi as a misogynist and political dinosaur. All the same, he's been in court before. It'd be unwise to write him off just yet. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Talks between the North and South Korean military have broken down. Neither side could agree on the agenda for future discussions. Tension's been high on the peninsula since the North shelled a South Korean island in November, killing 4 people. The trial of Abu Bakr Bashir, the spiritual leader of al-Qaeda-linked Jemaah Islamiyah network, has been postponed until Monday. Bashir was due in court on Thursday to face terrorism charges. The 72-year-old's already served time for conspiracy over the 2002 Bali bombings. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. Thailand and Cambodia will present their arguments over a border dispute to the United Nations next week. Both countries blame each other for damage to an ancient Hindu temple located at the center of recent military clashes. At least 11 people have died in the fighting and thousands have fled their homes. The Philippines government's resumed peace talks with Muslim separatists in the country's south. A spokesman for the Moro Islamic Liberation Front says he's optimistic about negotiating an end to a decades-long conflict. But as Marga Ortigas reports, there's dissent within the MILF itself.
Ligawasan Marsh, a resource-rich battlefield. Long an enclave of the separatist Moro Islamic Liberation Front, or MILF, it was once difficult to get in without the group's say-so. But not anymore.
1,000 fighters in this one camp used to be affiliated with the MILF. Over the past couple of years, they have jumped ship and joined forces with the Moro National Liberation Front. They say more and more of them are doing so, growing frustrated and disheartened with the MILF leadership.
For these fighters, it's a return to the mother group. The MILF broke away from the Philippines' original Muslim separatist movement, the MNLF, back in the 70s, when a peace deal was first struck with the government. But the MILF's pursuit of its own peace deal has not been as successful. Despite its leader's statements to the contrary, many of the ground troops grew restless.
They say too much, but accomplish nothing.
Now able to visit Ligawasan, the MNLF chairman is welcomed warmly in this former MILF camp. Even if many consider the original peace deal he brokered a failure, he is still seen here as a hero.
I am euphoric about this because I think this is a sign, a signal from the Almighty God that now our people have finally learned a big lesson, namely that only when they are united that they can be free.
Another camp where MILF fighters have turned, believing the group's leaders to be ineffective and detached. Misuwari says that more than half of the MILF's 12,000 troops have now rejoined the MNLF, something the MILF leadership denies.
I don't know, that's too exaggerated. We were able to sustain them, the strength on the ground, no problem at all.
Here in the MILF heartland, the finishing touches are being put on what's to be the largest mosque in the country. Construction stalled 3 years ago. Around the same time, MILF peace talks with the government fell through. Site engineers got over their hurdles, but it's back to the drawing board for the MILF. Until the leaders face the discontent of their own ground forces, any deal discussions with the government now will be nothing more than cosmetic. Marga Ortigas, Al Jazeera, Cotabato, Southern Philippines.
Rescuing migrants who don't need rescuing. Coming up, we'll tell you what's got the Mexican army so embarrassed. Also ahead.
And I'm Nazanin Mashiri reporting on the failure of the new Tunisian interim government to release all political prisoners.
We have more flooding to come across northern Australia over the next couple of days. I suspect the main focus for the heaviest rainfall will be just around the northernmost parts of Queensland, pushing up into the Gulf of Carpentaria, just around the Cape York Peninsula. Plenty of shower clouds showing up here. And you can see this long chain of clouds just running through central parts, down into South Australia Heavy showers are going to persist here. Could even see some very wet weather coming towards Alice Springs. Temperatures here at around 34 Celsius. Showers or longer spells of rain pulling away from Western Australia. Still nowhere near the bushfires that we've seen earlier on this week. And notice some rather heavy rain very close to the northwest. Hopefully that should stay offshore. Brighter skies gradually pushing back in as we move towards the weekend. That wet weather will make its way down towards western parts of South Australia. Heavy showers making their way into the southeast as this rain just pushes high pressure out of the way, nudges down across Victoria. Same area of cloud and rain will bring some heavy downpours into southern parts of New Zealand over the next day or two. I think these will gradually make their way a little further northwards. Hopefully a window of drier, brighter weather to come for Friday. Temperatures in Auckland getting up to a pleasant 23 Celsius. Meanwhile, it's not looking too bad across Southeast Asia. Still a few showers into Indonesia, yes, but largely fine and dry for Western Borneo and right the way across Malaysia.
It is in the details. A look. A connection. The moments that reveal the truth. Award-winning documentaries from critically acclaimed filmmakers. Witness documentaries to open your eyes. At this time on Al Jazeera.
The top stories here on Al Jazeera. Prosecutors in Italy want the country's prime minister to go on trial immediately over allegations he tried to cover up a sex scandal involving an underage prostitute. Muslim separatists in the Philippines have resumed peace talks with the government. However, there's concern over a split in the ranks of the MILF. And mass protests are continuing in Egypt for a 17th day. More workers are expected to go on strike, defying the government's order to go back to work. Meanwhile, the US is urging the Hosni Mubarak government to make the reforms Egyptians are calling for. Human rights activists are criticising Tunisia's record on political prisoners. Tunisia inspired a wave of mass protests across the region, challenging out-of-touch governments. Yet, despite a promise by the interim government to release political detainees, more than 1,000 are still in custody. Nazanin Mashiri reports.
The bench sheikhs are waiting for the release of their son. Nour el-Haq is a political prisoner, serving a 3-year sentence. Convicted under Tunisian anti-terror laws for publishing banned materials online, his family say he's innocent and was targeted for his religious beliefs.
It is so unjust. All these kids have done is be good Muslims. Religion here is a crime. Having a beard is a crime. Wearing a veil is a crime.
Najia says her son, the youngest in the family, has been harassed by the secret police since he was 14.
Imagine they put him with criminals. Imagine what I feel when my son used to live in a clean environment and now lives in a horrid place.
Mohammed Abu knows what that's like. He was a political prisoner under Ben Ali, detained for 16 months for writing an article critical of the regime.
Prisoners would be taken out by night in the winter, naked. They were tortured and beaten. They were made to imitate chicken sounds or animals. The aim was to destroy the morale of the prisoners.
Things are different now. Ben Ali is gone. A new caretaker government says it will promote freedom of speech and democracy. But it's not easy reversing years of dictatorship. One of the first promises made by this new interim government was an amnesty for all political prisoners. Some detainees have been released and others escaped in the days following Ben Ali's fall. But the authorities have failed to do anything about those convicted under Tunisia's anti-terrorism laws. The former president, Ben Ali, was an important American ally in their war on terror. But human rights groups say the law was used as an excuse to oppress the opposition.
They were not convicted of committing any terrorist acts or possessing explosives. They were usually convicted for either talking about going to Iraq to join the jihad or talking about going to Somalia. And so, in other words, they were convicted for their intentions and not for their acts.
A new emergency law gives the acting president powers to release all political prisoners. The Ben Sheikhs hope this weekly journey to visit their son in jail will be their last. Nazanin Mashiri, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
The uprising in both Tunisia and Egypt are being closely watched. In Iran, the Iranian parliament speaker Ali Larijani blames the US and Israel for bringing instability to the region. He told Al Jazeera's Nick Clark why.
If you look at the countries in this region, many are monarchies, or even those which are republics in name, like Egypt or Tunisia. Their presidents are in power for 30 years. In Iran, democracy is a serious matter. Presidents can only be in power for 2 terms. People vote and politicians change according to their will. But in Egypt, you have a dictatorship. America has created a certain situation for them. We are very clear in our position towards the US and Israel, as we believe they have brought the most oppression and injustice to this region. Behind the scenes, they're the ones that are preventing the Egyptians from making their revolution into a success. The Egyptians have a peaceful protest, but why are they reacting to them with bullets and violence? Scenes broadcast by Al Jazeera show they have thrown horses and camels at the people in Tahrir Square. Americans haven't grasped the reality. It seems they are supporting some kind of revolution of camels and horses, not a true democracy and freedom, as is the wish of the Egyptian people.
Republicans in the United States are making clear how serious they are about cutting back on government spending. They've released a list of more than 60 programs they want to see slashed. It comes as President Obama prepares to send the 2012 budget to the Congress next week. John Terrett reports.
In Washington, all the talk is about the 2012 budget and the battle now ramping up over cuts versus spending to boost economic growth. The Republican Party, which runs the House of Representatives, is laying out plans for deep cuts in social programs, from health and education to transport and law enforcement, affecting millions of Americans.
Clearly, our number one issue